They would retrieve from mail trays that were just to the right of those tables precinct envelopes that contained these then segregated undervote counts from various precincts. They would grab, say, a handful of them and deposit them in front of the two workers at each table. Then the workers one of the workers would open the ballots of the envelopes. They would place that spoiled envelope in front of them. Then they would undertake an examination, a count. I call it a tabulation, so we don't. I think that's the most accurate way to describe it. A count of each of the precincts' number of undervotes. Then one worker would count. The second worker would then get the count from the worker who was counting, and then, referring back to Defendant's Exhibit 62, mark that sheet, the tally report, in a variety of ways depending on what the count was.
Mr. Lampkin, we've heard testimony about 10,750 undervotes or maybe 9,000 undervotes. We've heard different numbers. What was Dade County doing, still counting undervotes or trying to figure out how many undervotes there might be on November 29, if you could tell from your observation?
I believe, and this is based on observation through the course of the entire day, that they were trying to actually ascertain the actual number of undervotes that existed in the various precincts and absentee ballots from throughout the county.
In fact, if you'll look at Defendant's Exhibit 62, sir, I noticed there are check marks in ink beside some of the numbers of typed undervotes, the typed undervote column, check marks beside some by precinct, but then on others I see a number, for example, handwritten 14 instead of the type number 15. In other words, there are fewer. There's one less undervote, apparently, in precinct 42 than had previously been thought prior to November 29. Is that your understanding of what this is?
That's my understanding, sir.
Have you, at my request, well, strike that. Is this handwriting on Exhibit 62 the county employees' efforts on November 29 to figure out whether they've got more ballots that could be undervotes in these precinct envelopes than they previously thought, or even less?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That would be accurate.
And have you taken an opportunity to try to count up on how many occasions the undervote envelope for a precinct had, in fact, more undervotes than had previously been thought, at least according to this record?
And this is based on my counting. I did this that evening when I received it from David, that based on this sheet, which is Exhibit 62, I believe the number of precincts that had I call it the increase of the undervote, was approximately 34. Could be a little bit more, a little less. It's hard to tell on some of these markings what precinct they're talking about.
Are you talking about 34 ballots, or are you talking about 34 precincts where there was a discrepancy between the prior number of undervotes in that precinct and what someone was apparently doing for the county on November 29?
Well, let me get exactly what. The 34 represents the number of precincts where the tally sheet, this is what I'm calling exhibit number 62, has a number of undervote count which exceeds, as you were referring to it, the typewritten undervote count.
How many? So that's, did you say 30 or 34?
It's about 34. Like I said, some of the numbers are a little hard to discern.
Okay, we got 34 precincts up. How many precincts went down where there actually apparently maybe fewer undervotes than had previously been thought, according to these officials?
Again, based on my I passed through this a couple times because at various, it's about 120.
That have fewer undervotes?
Yes, sir.
Previously. 120 precincts?
Precincts, yes, sir.
Okay. Did you ask, listen carefully to my question, just answer my question so we don't run into an evidentiary problem. Did you ask Dade County officials for an explanation of these discrepancies? Just yes or no?
Yes.
All right. Was any explanation given to you for this discrepancy by any Dade County official?
No, not that I recall, no. I wouldn't know.
All right, sir.
Oh,
Let me now show you, or point your attention to Defendant's Exhibit 63. This is the thing that is a different kind of tabulation that you also testified David Leahy showed to you.
yes, sir.
What do you understand this document to be, and how, if at all, does it relate to Defendant's Exhibit 62?
My understanding is, now I only observed Mr. Leahy and his deputy, Ivy Corman, actually, I guess the word is transmitting these numbers, but towards the end of the day, I don't think we had gone through all of the precincts yet, they were trying to ascertain the exact number of precincts where the, as you call it, the typewritten undervote, there was a decrease in that number after the undervote ballots had been hand counted by the county employees. And so they manually checked it and transferred it to this document in order to have an exact or a more precise number on one sheet towards the end of the day. I don't recall the exact hour.
And do you recall that at about the time that, or around the time Defendant's Exhibit 63 was prepared, or at least that it was given to you, that's the point at which Judge Saul had a telephone conference with the Miami-Dade County people, and in fact, everything stopped at Miami County, Dade County?
I'm not exactly, frankly, at that point, I was kind of running around because there were two sets of activity.
If you don't know, you don't know. So you don't know?
No.
Okay.
That's correct. Now, I've not had any conference with any Dade County.
May I make the record clear, Your Honor?
Yes,
I'm just talking about the hearing that occurred on November 29 before Your Honor, where you stopped various activities that had apparently been ongoing without our knowledge with respect to these ballots, so that the ballots could come up here. I'm just talking about Your Honor's order.
Ordering that the ballots be impounded and brought up.
That's right. That's all I'm talking about.
All right.
Mr. Lampkin, is it clear to you how many undervotes there could be in Dade County?
No, sir, not at all.
Okay. Does it seem to be shifting?
Oh, certainly.
All right, sir. Let's talk about what you observed on November 29 concerning the handling of ballots. Did you observe anything on November 29 with regard to the handling of ballots?
Yes.
Please tell Judge Sauls what you observed.
Well, as I stated earlier, there were probably 3 or 4 different observations that I witnessed during the course of the day regarding handling. The first was in the very beginning, top of the day, when the hand tabulators, as I've been calling them, started counting the ballots physically, removing them from a sealed envelope, counting them out. On certain occasions during that observation, I saw people grabbing the ballots not at the corners that they had been instructed to do, but kind of midway in the ballot. I saw people that if there was a larger number of ballots, actually fan or do like you do with a set of cards or something to try to straighten them out, the fan and then a straighten so that you can get them in order. Subsequently, I saw ballots run back through the tabulation machines, and again, that's a 2-step process where they're removing them from the ballot trays. One worker would remove them from the ballot trays. They would then go into the tabulation machine, where another worker would operate the machine, and then yet a third worker would be the one who's actually pulling out. The machine would stop as a segregated ballot was identified, or excuse me, an undervote ballot was identified, pull it out and stick it in an envelope, another sealed envelope. Then And are you limiting me only to the 29th?
Yes.
Okay, so those are the two. Oh, but then a third process I saw is, on occasion, either Mr. Leahy or his deputy Ivy would be called over to examine ballots, and at that point they would, again, there would be another hand count. There would be, on occasion, an examination of the ballots in the air, kind of see if a light would go through a hole all the way through. And then there was another segregation process in a number of precincts.
Well, let me understand you, sir. Did you see a number of ballots handled physically by county employees?
Yes.
Did you see a number of ballots run through for a fourth time through the machine?
Yes, I did.